Even though Bitcoin lacks regulation, even though it can be used by bad actors, even though there's been this dramatic percentage increase and everyone's saying the bubble is going to burst, you still trust it over the US dollar?
I trust it over all fiat currencies. All fiat currencies in time go to zero through history. The value of the US dollar has declined 96% versus gold over the last century. It's what everybody does in late stages to enjoy a better standard of living than they can produce themselves. They borrow the difference and eventually pay for it by monetizing, by printing money, which is what we've been doing to keep ourselves in this sort of pseudo recovery for so many years. And that always comes to an ugly end. We need a sound currency. We need sound, we need so even though Bitcoin, yes, it's had this bubble. Who knows if it's a bubble? Who knows if it's on its way to $100,000 a Bitcoin? I don't know, but I love the idea that we have a form of sound money, whether it be a return to the gold standard, which isn't going to happen, or Bitcoin or some other similar currency.
So currently about 1/4% of overstock sales are purchased in Bitcoin.
You do your homework. You've been reading our filings.
Yes. Where do you see that going in the short term, do you think?
I suspect it doesn't really pick up much until or unless there's some dollar crisis, which, God forbid, hope it never happens. But what's happening, people are switching to Bitcoin in countries as their own currencies collapse. It started in Greece a few years ago. It's happening in Venezuela. It's happening in different countries as their currencies collapse.
But right now it's happening a lot in Asia.
It is. Asia and Africa, Zimbabwe. And so they switch because they need to get into some form of money that they can trust better than their own. If we ever come to a dollar crisis in this country, if all of this money that the Fed has been printing up for 8 years ever sort of starts swishing around and we have inflation return, that's when people will stampede into Bitcoin.
With the SEC basically cracking down on ICOs, how are you going to do this ICO without getting in trouble?
I'm actually quite supportive of the SEC cracking down. This ICO craze this year has led to a lot of people being fleeced, I think. There's been a lot of people bringing coins public with no real business plan. I think a lot of that is problematic. So the SEC has been correct to step in and say we got to start scrutinizing this. What we have built is, oddly enough, just what the market needs. We have an exchange, or an ATS, that is a licensed SEC compliant exchange that we blockchainified, so it can handle all these coins. So what's going to happen is these ICOs are going to start acting more like regular IPOs, where with a prospectus and lawyers and accountants and business models and a more formality around the system.